Morning, gang. So it's a little cold outside, but I thought we'd make a trip outside. You guys were asking some of the stuff about gardens and gardening and all that sort. So I'm standing out here. It's about 38 degrees or so this morning. It was 60 yesterday, so obviously coat is on and all here. But I wanted to show you a couple of things because y'all were asking about the gardens and stuff. So I wanted to kind of give you a little tour of what I'm doing and how I kind of do things. So first garden I want to show you is the one I'm working on, okay? And I've mentioned lasagna gardening to everybody, but this one will give you a good idea of what I'm talking about because I'm about halfway through it. So you'll see what I can show you here. So let me kind of flip this around and we can go from there. Okay. So if we kind of back out on you here, you'll see on the right side of the screen there, there's topsoil and cow manure in there. You'll also see all the straw. Now what I'll be doing is mixing all that together. And if I get over to the left side here, which is more closer to complete, that's all the horse manure thrown on top. So in the garden, what I've got is topsoil, compost, straw, cow manure, and horse manure. And I will put it all together once this one's finally done, and I will till it all in together. The reason why you want to put the straw in is because the manures are very rich in nitrogen, and so you need a carbon source to let everything compost out correctly, so this will all turn into real fine soil. So the straw being the carbon source and the manure being the nitrogen source. Obviously the compost is already composted, so we don't have to worry about that. And the native soil, the topsoil, is again composted by nature, but that's also what's going to give you a lot of the soil structure that you need. So, there's an idea there first. Now, this is the largest of the gardens. This is the one I'm finishing. This one's 24 by 40. So I will be able to get my potatoes, my sweet potatoes, and my corn in this one. But we'll take a walk over to the other garden here as we kind of stroll on through. And you can see it right there behind the trash can, which is insulating one of the fig trees we have over here. So this is the original garden that I put in last year, and this one is 20 by 24. So definitely smaller, but this was my practice one, if you will, to kind of get used to soil conditions around here. If you look down here in the front, you'll see I've got my garlic growing, garlic plant in the fall, and it'll go. But I kind of wanted to get in here, if I can, and show you a little bit about the consistency of the soil. This is what I've built, okay? And if I can get my hand on there, if I just grab a handful, you can see how nice and rich and crumbly that is, because it is the manure, the compost, everything that I just talked about before. And as you see all the wood chips on top, that's the bedding, if you will, from the horse manure, which obviously the manures will sink and wood floats, if you will, so the wood chips come to the top, which inevitably act as a good mulch. So I kind of get two things done at the same time, and the wood chips over time will break down and just turn into more good soil. Again, they're my carbon source. So this is the we don't talk about the original garden. Now, somebody had mentioned trellises, and so if you see what I have laying on the ground here, I kind of got creative with my trellises. What that is remesh, okay, the little metal screening, if you will, that you put into concrete, and then I took some 2x2s and zip tied them down. Now the reason I did it this way is I can lift them up, and I've got them on hinges, so now I can pick them up, and I'll move over here so you can see. But so then they will sit like that, so my peas, my cucumbers, or whatever can trellis up. But then come wintertime, which obviously we're in now, I can just knock them on down. And take me a second here to do this by myself. But now I have my trellises laying flat on the ground because obviously there's nothing growing. Okay, and those work real well. You can see I've got a bunch of them around this garden. Obviously I've got to build more. But so then if we take a walk up to the next garden, this is one that is already completed that I finished in the fall. Again, same premise on everything else that I did doing the lasagna gardening, tilling it all in. But again, you're going to see this same nice crumbly soil, which is what you want. Okay, and then of course if I scroll up there, there's one more garden right back there, which that's the melon patch, if you will. So, you know, those are different ideas on what's going on. I'll take one more walk over yonder here, and my compost pile has completely been used up, so kind of starting again. But I wanted to mention composting, and there's nothing left here because I've used it all. But you can see there's a little bit of, you know, there's an old cabbage, another old cabbage in here. But food scraps, any of the manure I didn't use, throw back in the pile here to go over. What do we have here? Just some plant material. You know, so when you're pulling weeds or whatever, you get that opportunity to throw all your green material in there. And then around here, I have no problem finding brown material in the way of leaves. So those all go in there. But when you're composting, what I suggest to everybody is, you know, grass clippings, weeds, whatever would be, try to chop them up somehow so that when you are composting, I mean, smaller materials will break down faster because there's more surface area. Now, there's a million different recipes out online for compost. Personally, I don't think it's all too much to matter. I'm going to flip this around again. There we go. There I am. Personally, I don't think it's all too much to matter. I just throw whatever I've got in green material, whatever I've got in brown material, and it probably winds up somewhere around a 50-50 mix. Because like I said, I've got the benefits of tons of trees. Well, you can't see. Well, I guess you can see behind me. But, you know, throw it all in there. Keep it moist. Turn it about once a week. I'm not trying to make this 2-week compost or anything like that. I just take my kitchen scraps, my grass clippings or weeds or whatever that we can rake up, because obviously when we're mowing here, we're not bagging everything. Otherwise, I'd kill myself. But, you know, if there's thick grass, I'll throw that over there. Just whatever material I get, I'll turn it into compost and then throw it in the garden. But that's kind of, you know, the basics. This is what I've been talking about building your soil. Because, you know, like anything else, you know, let's say you're building a house. You got to have a solid foundation, otherwise the house falls down. Garden's the same way. If you don't have a solid foundation, i.e. your soil, you're not going to grow anything. So, wanted to show you all that. A couple of people have asked what should they be doing this time of year. Same thing I'm doing. Getting your beds ready, getting your soils amended, or in my case on one garden, building it all together to do it. You know, you can usually find manure relatively cheap. I can get a pickup truck load of manure here for $10. That's not terrible. Compost is harder to find depending on where you live. I mean, I called one place here about getting more compost so I could fill that garden. They wanted $120 a truckload. I'm not paying that. I'm sorry. I can make it my own. I'll just put more manure in there and go. You know, that's fine. I've got enough of my own compost in there to start. So That's kind of the key. Use what materials you have and make it work, but you can really do this relatively inexpensively. I mean, I did it. I mean, obviously lumber costs are a little high this year, but I mean, mine are built with 2x6s, and this one's with six. Well, the garden one, right? The first one, the oldest one, if you will. That one's out of 6x6s that were left over from the previous owner, and so I just turned them into a raised bed. So plenty of ways to do this. Just, use your imagination and use whatever materials you've got and do it, and then of course I will do a soil test come springtime when everything warms up and see if I need to add gypsum or need to add lime or something just to get my pH right, and go from there. I mean, it's not that hard. It's just work, and we're preppers. We're used to work. So y'all asked for that one. Thought I'd give it to you this morning. But there's your Monday video, as I've got the days right now. So have a good one, y'all. Talk to you soon. Pinball out.